All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show where we cover the SWAC inside and out. Of course, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawells coming at you, and I guess this was the day that we anticipated this week of happening. Obviously, everybody knows the news by now. Coach Prime has taken his talents to Boulder, Colorado, to be the head man for the University of Colorado Buffaloes. So we'll talk about that. And of course, there was a game yesterday for like 3 quarters. There was a game, and we'll talk about that. Unfortunately, that got lost in the shuffle of all the news and reactions to the big news yesterday. So we'll talk about that. Jackson State won their second straight SWAC championship, wrapped up a 12-0 regular season, and they were Jackson State as they have been all season. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk a little bit of SWAC basketball too. But we're gonna start off with the game, man, because I feel like the game did not get the shine that it should have gotten. Jackson State played a dominant game in the first quarter. I mean, this first quarter was probably the most this was the best, one of the best quarters Jackson State ever played, and one of the worst quarters Southern ever played. And that was basically the game itself. Southern turned the ball over 3 times in the first quarter. Jackson State scored touchdowns on all 3 of them. And ultimately took a 26-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. Southern made a quarterback change finally, and from that point on, Southern was competitive. The defense stepped up and made some plays. Jackson State kind of got a little sloppy, like you do when you get a big lead, but Southern was able to stay in the game, and it's a moral victory. But Southern was able to go to in the last 3 quarters, they outscored Jackson State 24-17. To make the score look a lot closer than what it probably should have been. This game probably should have been at least a 60 to whatever type of game. But credit to Southern for even responding at all after that horrendous first quarter. Credit to Bubba McDaniel, man. That guy came out and he played lights out. He made some mistakes, but he came out and he did everything that he could do to help the team, and the guys responded well. Shador was on fire as usual. The defense from Jackson State, that first quarter defense, man, it was like 30 people were on the field. Southern could not get any kind of running room. The defense was swarming. They created turnovers, and they basically won that game in the first quarter. But thankfully, Southern made a game out of it, and at least made the second half somewhat interesting before there were mass subs. So looking at the scoring, Jackson State scored first with 10:26 left in the first quarter when Alejandro Mata kicked a 22-yard field goal. That capped a 9-play, 61-yard drive. Took 2:51 off the clock. Score was 3-0. Savion Wilkerson would get a 1-yard touchdown run for Jackson State with 8:26 left in the first. Extra point good. There was a 1-play drive after intercept. Really should have been a pick 6, but the guy got knocked out at the 1. So Jackson State scored after 2 plays, 10-0. 6:35 left in the first quarter. Shane Hooks catches a 14-yard pass from Shador Sanders. 2-point conversion good. That was a 14-play drive, came off of a Southern fumble. 3:58 left in the first quarter. Another Southern fumble sets this drive up from 58 yards out. Shane Hooks scored a 40-yard touchdown for Jackson State. That was his second of the game, and Shador's second pass of the game. 2-point conversion good. That was a 3-play, 58-yard drive. 1:36 off the clock. That made the score 26-0. Southern finally would get on the board when Bubba McDaniel would run a 4-yard touchdown run, capping a 12-play, 82-yard drive that took 4:34 off the clock. Extra point was good. Southern trailed 26-7 at that point. Jackson State marched right down the field on a 7-play, 85-yard drive that took 2:44 off the clock. Kevin Coleman caught a 14-yard pass from Shador Sanders. Extra point good. That made the score 33-7. And then with no time left in the first half, Joshua Griffin kicks a 39-yard field goal for Southern, capping a 5-play, 42-yard drive that took 48 seconds off the clock, and that made the score 33-10. Southern would come out in the start the second half with a touchdown with 11:49 left in the third quarter. Chandler Whitfield would catch a 34-yard pass from Bubba McDaniel. Extra point good. That was a 4-play, 46-yard drive that took a minute and 19 off the clock, 33-17 at that point. Jackson State would get a 33-yard field goal from Mata with 5:26 left in the third. That was a 14-play, 60-yard drive that took 6 minutes and 23 seconds off the clock, and that made the score 36-17. Bubba McDaniel would run a 42-yard run for Southern with 4:27 left in the third quarter. Extra point good. That was a 6-play, 75-yard drive that took 59 seconds off the clock. And then Rico Powers would catch a 9-yard pass from Shedeur Sanders. Extra point good. That came with 1:29 left in the third. That was a 5-play, 75-yard drive, 2:58 off the clock. And that would make the score 43-24, which would be on the final margin. In the fourth quarter, neither team really did much. Southern got the ball deep in Jackson State territory on their final drive. Ultimately, it just let the clock run out, and that made the margin be what it was. Southern had 20 first downs in this game. Jackson State 25. Southern ran for 195 on the night. Jackson State 119. Southern 39 carries, 5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Jackson State 26 carries, 4.6 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Southern 217 through the air, 16 of 36, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Jackson State 320 through the air, 30 of 44, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Southern 412 yards on the night, 75 plays, 5.5 yards per play, 2 fumbles. They lost both. They were penalized 10 times for 95 yards. Jackson State 439 total offense, 70 plays, 6.3 yards per play, 1 fumble, and they lost it 9 penalties for 75 yards. Southern punted 4 times for a 38-yard average. Jackson State 4 punts for a 26-yard average. Southern 27-57 time of possession, 9 of 17 on third down, 0 for 4 on fourth down. They were 2 or 3 in the red zone. Then they had 1 sack on the night. Jackson State, Southern was 3 for 3 on extra points and 1 for 1 on field goals. Jackson State 6 of 14 on third down, 32 minutes and 3 second time of possession, 0 for 2 on fourth down, 6 for 6 in the red zone. So Jackson State had 5 sacks on the night, and they had 3 of 3 on extra points and 2 for 2 on field goals. Individually, Bubba McDaniel 15 of 34 for 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and 2 sacks. Harold Blood, no pass attempts, 2 sacks. McCray 1 for 2 for -3 yards and 1 interception. Shedeur Sanders 30 of 43 for 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 1 sack. JP Andrade 0 for 1 with an interception. Bubba McDaniel 20 carries for 162 yards and 2 touchdowns. Big night for him, 8 yards per carry. Carl Ligon 7 for 27. Rhyme 6 for 16. McCray 3 for 15. Team was credited with a -10-yard run, and Blood 2 for -15. Wilkerson 15 for 61 and a touchdown. Marshall 4 for 39. Sanders 5 for 16. Jolivet 1 for 4, and the team had a -1-yard run. Ed McGee led Southern with 3 catches for 68 yards. Whitfield 4 for 51 and a touchdown. August Pete 3 for 42. Kirkwood 1 for 34. Ligon 1 for 15. Dyson 1 for 4. Rhymes 3 for 3. Shane Hooks led Jackson State with 5 catches for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gaines 7 for 76. Power 6 for 73 and a touchdown. Daniel 6 for 34. Coleman 1 for 14 and a touchdown. Stevens 2 for 13. Was by Christian Davis with 13. Harris 8. Campbell 8. Williams 7. Carter 4. 5. Brown 5. Tackles for loss. Williams 1. Brown 1. Harris a half a tackle for loss. Lewis a half a tackle for loss. Lang a half a tackle for loss. And Monroe a half a tackle for loss. Sacks, half a sack went to Lewis and Lang. Interception was by Carter. Jackson State was led defensively by Niles Gaddy with 7 tackles. Silman Craig with 6. Bolden with 5. Miller with 5. Hobson with 5. Tackles for loss, Miller with 3. Hobson 2.5, Reagan 1.5, Gaddy 1, Brown half a tackle for loss, Mercier half a tackle for loss, sacks went to Reagan 1.5, Hobson 1, Gaddy 1, Miller 1, forced fumbles, Hobson and Miller each had 1, recovery by Reagan and Doyle. Interceptions went to Smith, Beasley, and Silman Craig. So, like I said, man, this was a game that really could have been way, way uglier than the final score indicated. Southern first quarter was probably the worst first quarter I've seen from Southern since like the LSU game. Nothing they did went right on either side of the ball. It was a comedy of errors. Jackson State was merciless and relentless in the first quarter. They took advantage of every mistake Southern had. They were swarming all over the field on defense and had Southern just totally inside out. Southern made a change finally at quarterback. Bubba McDaniel came in and he played heroically. Obviously, the deficit was too big for Southern to actually come back and win, but they made an effort to get themselves back in the game, and you can't really knock that. But Jackson State did what they do, man. They are the repeat SWAC champs. They head to the Celebration Bowl on Saturday, December 17th, where they take on North Carolina Central. That's 11 a.m. kickoff. Game can be seen on ABC. So make sure you tune in, man. And we're obviously going to preview that game. And there's a lot of things that are going to be interesting about this game, a lot of storylines and things because, as you know, and this is a segue, Coach Prime is heading to Colorado. So he intends to coach this game, but, stranger things that happen with coaching changes. If you watched his message to his team, he told guys not to go in the portal yet or at all because, you may not make it out of there. But, you got to think some guys may act irrationally. Some guys may think they're doing what's best for them, and they may go in now or they may wait till after the game. Who's going to go to Colorado with Coach Prime? That's also a question. It's believed right now for sure that Shador is going to go with him. If you saw, there's some people who said there's a little dust up between Shiloh and Coach Prime, so maybe he doesn't go. It's going to be interesting to see who goes and who stays. But this was, for one thing, I'm going to say this. This move and this whole process is something that a lot of people who only follow HBCU football that is unfamiliar for them. And this is, unfortunately, this is the nature of the beast and coaching changes. When a Power 5 school is got their eyes on the coach, whether it's a G5 coach, a FCS coach, whatever, their needs and interests trump everybody else. So, yes, they're going to announce these moves before a championship game. And, yes, it overshadowed, a great effort by Jackson State, and it overshadowed a great season by them. But this kind of thing happens all the time when Power 5 coaches want a coach. They want that coach now. Colorado trying to get a coach in before the portal opens up on December 5th, which is Monday. So they had already said they wanted to have a coach in place by then. And if you have these kind of rumors and innuendos going around, they're gonna leak out. And obviously somebody, wanted to put it out there now, and they did. And it cast a wide shadow over everything else. But this is par for the course for how Power 5s operate when it comes to coaching jobs and coaching searches. So I understood that factor. If there was anything that I would say that I did not like, I just wasn't really feeling, and that's I felt like some kind of communication should have been from Coach Prime's camp. I don't not necessarily to say that you're taking his job, but even that lip service of saying, I'm not going nowhere or whatever, I think sometimes that can put some people on at ease. But Coach Prime is a guy who, he's not really gonna bullshit you. So, I guess he felt like, if I'm gonna keep it real, I'm just gonna keep it real and let things play out. And so that kind of made things a little dicey for everybody. Obviously that was the camp that felt like he wasn't going to leave. And I was in that camp because I felt like, I feel like he may stick it out another year because maybe this is not the offers that he wanted. But, Colorado gave him a very enticing offer. And, when you say, anybody got money gonna always want to make more money. And, if he's really intending to do things for his coaching staff, then obviously taking a job like this is gonna make those moves for those guys. You know what I mean? Because you have a lot of big name guys. You got your Tim Brewsters, your Mike Zimmers, guys like that are coming in that aren't. I mean, they don't need the money, but they're working for little to no money. You got a coach like Coach Thurman who's putting in mad work that should probably be elevated as well. If that's the way you're looking at things, you got a few guys on his support staff that are working for probably not what they deserve. So if you have an opportunity to get a bag for other people, then sometimes you have to do something that's not looked at favorably to help other people out. Because this is not necessarily him getting a bag for himself. I mean, he got bags, so it's not like he need this bag. But I think a lot of times the way people looking at this, when people say a better job come along, what job is that? Because anybody that's in a position to hire a coach, I don't care if you're an SEC team, Big Ten team. If you're looking for a coach because you fired a coach, then your program is probably not where it needs to be at this point. And a lot of those quote unquote big jobs that you're asking for is not going to come open in any time soon. So, if you feel like you're trying to help people, then you need to kind of strike while the iron is hot, because maybe next season there's not many other jobs that may come open, barring a shocking coaching change like a retirement or somebody going in the NFL. So, that's, I guess he felt like he had to make the move. And that brings me to the subject of the view of his, of his legacy, and did he do what he said he wanted to do, and how he impacted everybody else. And I'm on air and wax, or however you want to say it, on SWAC Smoke, especially saying that we as a league needed to get as much as we could from this situation as we could. And I don't feel like we necessarily did that because we didn't have the time and the vision and the knowledge, or whatever you want to say, to latch ourselves on to this and benefit from what comes from a situation like this. And that comes with time. It don't necessarily come right away. The extra eyes and the exposure from outside people was cool. That's cool. But now, how much of that is gonna leave? And you hear a lot of people who make content. They're saying, hey, I'm not going nowhere. And I feel like you shouldn't have to say that, because if you're here, you're here. And if you're here, you're still doing work, and everybody that's still doing work is here regardless. So, whether you move on or you stay, that's up to you. But I think the majority of people who make content in the SWAC verse aren't going anywhere. So that, I feel like maybe you lose a few views here or there from some of those people. And I saw a couple of people on some Colorado boys who claimed they were HBCU people, said some real slanderous, shady things about HBCU people. And, I feel like that's something that doesn't need to be stated in a situation like this. You ain't got to lie to kick it. You ain't got to, kiss up to nobody else to be able to kick it with them. You ain't got to put us down because if you jump from here to there because a coach left, then you was never down anyway. So, I don't really mess with you like that. But, I feel like I said, I feel like that he would probably stay till after, Shadura left. He'd probably leave, or maybe once his daughter finishes her, her couple years at JSU or whatever. I figure he'll be here like 4 to 5 years. So I don't think any coach nowadays is staying, 10, 15, 20 years in one job. So I don't think anybody who thought that was thinking unrealistically. So obviously, when you're a hot name like that and you're a guy who is a big figure, and people seeing what he doing at JSU, and they like, man, we need to get that in our program, then yes, the hunt is on. And if he would have turned down all these jobs this year, it would have been the same thing next year, and they would have kept coming at him until he basically took a job. So it was gonna be a year in, a year out thing where his name was gonna always be on the list of guys who teams feel like can revitalize their program. And so, that's kind of the nature of the beast. And when you got an image as he does, and you're starting to show what you can do, then yes, people are gonna want you. And I unfortunately, Colorado made him an offer he couldn't refuse. So we're gonna not talk a lot about this too much because obviously it's not necessarily SWAC no more, but because it impacts JSU with the portal and things like that, we're gonna any major news comes out of this, we're gonna continue to talk about. Obviously, this opens up another coaching job. Now we have 3 jobs open in the SWAC, so this is another job to think about which way they go. He recommended TC Taylor. Some people looking at that as a weird thing because he was demoted from offensive coordinator last season to, I think, receiver coach. And but he's still on the staff. So, maybe he feel like he took that and he grinded and he did what he needed to do. And he is an up and coming guy who a lot of people feel like should be a head coach at some point. So, he knows JSU. He played there. He coached there. So, if it's a guy who helped recruit these guys, then, maybe you keep the continuity. But, we're going to get a lot of wild names and all of that kind of stuff. But we'll see, which direction all this goes. And, it is what it is at this point. So we're not going to talk too much about it. Obviously, there's going to be more and more think pieces all over the place about it. And, like I said, I'll share my thoughts here now. But right now, it was just, I've been up all night really reading and watching videos and stuff. So, I'm kind of like tapped out on it right now. But we'll get back to it during the week. And obviously, it's going to come up on SWAC Smoke. So, y'all make sure y'all stay locked in for that. Before we get out of here, we're going to talk a little basketball. And we head into the month of December. And the SWAC is still winning some non-conference games, man. We're going to run through the men's and women's schedule for the past week and then this upcoming week. And we'll go from there. But, like I said, this has been a very, very entertaining non-conference season. And, we're going to continue to keep it rolling. So we'll start off on Wednesday for the women's side. Prairie View dropped a 68-53 decision of University of Florida. On Thursday, Southern lost to Oregon State 89-36. North Florida beat Bethune-Cookman 54-43. Utah beat Valley 109-42. Alabama State lost to Texas Tech 91-56. On Friday, Abilene Christian beat Alabama State 78-67. Sam Houston beat FAMU on Saturday 70-62. Gardner Webb beat Pine Bluff 84-51. Alcorn dropped the 59-70 decision to Louisiana Tech. Jackson State lost to Oregon State 63-53. Today's schedule, Pine Bluff is at Cal. Southern is at University of Texas. Grambling is at Mississippi State. On Wednesday, Pine Bluff is at San Francisco. Sanford is at Alabama State. On Thursday, Prairie View is at Tulsa. On Friday, Spring Hill College is at Southern. And Saturday, Alabama A&M is at Tennessee Tech. Sunday, Texas Southern at Florida State. Bethune-Cookman at St. John's. Southern at Tulane. Alabama State at the University of Texas. Jackson State at Missouri. So that wraps up basically the week for women's basketball. On the men's side, Grambling's been playing some good basketball, man. They picked up a couple of non-conference victories, and they're looking really good. Jackson State got them a non-conference victory, their first victory under Coach Mo Williams. So, pretty much everybody is, snagged a victory here and there in non-conference. So I'm liking what I'm seeing, and, we're going to continue to kind of keep our eyes out on the basketball landscape, especially as we move deeper into the month of December and into January. So starting off with Wednesday's games on the men's side, Pine Bluff lost to Air Force 81-53. Rice beat Prairie View 70-62. University of Florida beat FAMU 102-62. Thursday, Bethune-Cookman beat Chicago State 86-73. Arkansas State beat Valley 58-38. On Friday, Southern lost to Louisiana Tech 74-59. Georgia beat FAMU 68-46. On Saturday, Jackson State beat SMU 69-68. Mississippi State beat Valley 82-52. Grambling beat Incarnate Word 72-59. Pine Bluff beat Arkansas Baptist 59-41. Today's game, Alcorn is at Tennessee. On Tuesday, Jackson State is at TCU. On Wednesday, Alabama State is at North Alabama. On Friday, Lipscomb is at Alabama A&M. Grambling is at Vanderbilt. On Saturday, Pine Bluff is at Texas. Bethune-Cookman at North Florida. LSU Alexandria is at Southern. Alcorn is at Southern Illinois. Sunday, Jackson State at Akron. Prairie View at Northwestern. And North American is at Texas Southern. So that's pretty much where we stand right now in SWAC basketball. So, not a lot of home games yet, but teams are winning these games, which is definitely a good look for us right now. Like I keep saying, it's going to make for a very interesting non-conference season. Non-conference season, a very interesting conference season. So that's going to do it for today's show, man. I jumped directly into everything, man. I didn't do any of my intro. So y'all check out these socials that's on the screen below. Facebook, SWAC Talk, Instagram, SWAC Talk, Twitter, SWAC Talk 76. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. If you have, man, thank you for subscribing. I definitely appreciate that. Hit that like button, man. Get them likes up. It definitely helps a lot with all this YouTube stuff. So make sure you hit the like button. Feel free to comment your thoughts on what's going on with Coach Prime, with the SWAC Championship, Celebration Bowl, basketball, whatever. Hit the comment section and I'll chop it up with you now. Share the videos, and that's it, man. I'm up out of here, man. So y'all enjoy y'all day. Congrats to the Jackson State Tigers, man. SWAC champs back to back. 2 undefeated SWAC seasons back to back. 12-0 regular season this year. Salute. That's history for JSU, man. First team in the SWAC to go undefeated in conference play in back-to-back years since Grambling in I think it was 2015 and 2016. So that's history, man. This was a historical season, man. I hope y'all took it all in and appreciated it all. Whether you for JSU or not, I hope y'all you appreciate what you saw, because this is something that was special. And hopefully they keep this going, and everybody else can continue to step up, because you're gonna have to step up and meet the Tigers, because they kings right now. So everybody else got to get their stuff together and rise to the occasion. So with that being said, man, I'm up out of here. Y'all enjoy y'all Sunday, and I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.